In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to repair extremely high ISO noise using Topaz DeNoise AI. So let's get started. As you can see, this is the way that the photograph originally came out of the camera, and this is a 205,000 ISO photo. And that's what I mean by extremely high ISO. And as we navigate around the photograph, we can see that the noise is so bad that it's destroying just about all the details in the photo. But then, with the machine learning technology of Topaz DeNoise AI, all of these details are repaired and recovered. So let's get started. First, we're going to load up our original image, which is a raw file. And if we look in the upper right-hand corner, we can see it says ISO 205K. But then as you zoom in close, please make sure that you turn off any of the noise reduction and the sharpening that is in Adobe Camera Raw. Or if you're using Lightroom, do the same thing there. Just turn all that off. And that's mainly because Topaz DeNoise AI was trained on the original color noise from your photographs. And also, logically speaking, if we were to reset to the defaults of Adobe Camera Raw Loader, we would notice that, yes, it destroys all of the color from your photograph. So just make sure you turn off all the sharpening and all the color noise reduction and even the noise reduction. And of course, that same applies for any of the geometry correction in your photos as well. So once we've done that, in the lower part of the Adobe Camera Raw Loader, make sure that you load it at 16 bits per channel, and that's in contrast to 8 bits per channel, mainly because Topaz DeNoise AI will take advantage of the greater fidelity that you have in your Camera Raw files. So now let's go ahead and click Open. Here's our image in Photoshop. And I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate of this layer just so we can always come back to the original noisy photo to examine it. And now we dive into Topaz DeNoise AI. One of my favorite ways of working with DeNoise AI is I like to zoom in at 200% because that allows me to see the most quality in my photos. And also, with the new version of DeNoise AI, for each of the views that are here in this quad view, we can choose which one of the AI models to view. So let's start off here with the upper right-hand corner. So in contrast to the standard model that's there by default, we're going to change to the new severe noise model. And after the computer processes the image, we could see that the original photograph is here in the upper left, very, very noisy. To the right, we have the severe noise. Below, we have the low light model. And then finally, in the lower left is the clear model, which used to be called AI Clear. Now, it's pretty obvious that the AI Clear model can't really handle this extreme noise in this high ISO photo. So it's a competition between our severe noise model and the low light model, and I can immediately tell that the little green gem that's right in the middle of the forehead of our statue is being preserved in the lower right-hand corner with the low light model, whereas it seems like with the severe noise model, it's doing a more of an aggressive job removing the chrominance noise. So I think that the low light model is probably going to be the model to go with. Also, if you look to the right-hand side, you notice that under each model, I like to start off with the auto setting. And that is just so that I don't have to worry about moving any of the sliders around. But feel free to manipulate the sliders until you get exactly the results that you want. So in this case, since we want to process with a low light, make sure you select the low light model and click Apply. All right, now that DeNoise AI is done, we can examine the incredible quality. And as we zoom in, once again, let me remind you that this is the way the photograph came out of the camera, and here is the miracle of Topaz DeNoise AI. Now, by default, DeNoise AI is already doing a remarkable job removing the noise from this extremely high ISO photo. But we're going to take it up one more level, and we're going to squeeze even more quality from Topaz DeNoise AI using Topaz Gigapixel AI. And here's the way we're going to do that. Start off by making a duplicate of the image that we just created. We're going to go ahead and flatten this image. So all we have is just the layer, which is for our DeNoise AI layer. And then we're going to downscale this photo about 66%, or this is going to be 2/3. But first, make sure that under the resampling algorithm, you choose bilinear. If you were to leave it at the original or default bicubic model, it's going to leave some artifacts behind around the edges of objects that later on gets amplified when we use Gigapixel. So when you're trying to downsample, bilinear is a good choice that will not have any artifacts. And for the width and the height, let's just do it at 66.6%. So it's going to be about 2/3, and we click OK. And now this image is essentially 2/3 of the resolution of our original photograph. Now it's time to bump up the resolution with Gigapixel AI. File, Automate, Topaz Gigapixel AI. For this example, we're going to bump up the resolution of this image just 2x, meaning it's going to be twice as large as the image that we just gave it. And we could see that the final resolution of the image is being highlighted here in the lower left-hand corner. So the final image is going to be 8,000 by 5,334. Now, as we look at the various different AI models for upscaling, I usually like to start out with my favorite AI model, which is the very compressed model. But feel free to look at some of the other models. So low resolution, we can look at that and see what the quality of that's like. And then I also like to go back to the standard model as well. The models that are reserved for line art can be chosen with lines. And then art and CG is great for upscaling either artwork or computer graphics images. Once the various different models have rendered, you can now instantly click on each one of them to compare the quality of one to the other. And it looks like our very compressed model is really giving us the best quality of image. So with very compressed selected, you simply click apply. And now, after it's done processing, let's take the final image and downscale it to the original resolution, which is 6,000 pixels wide. Now, in this case, we also want to make sure that for the method of interpolation, we're going to go back to the default bicubic, which is going to give us the best natural results. So let's click OK. Here is now the downscaled version of the image where we can select all, copy, we'll close this image, and let's go back to the image that has all of our layers and paste that in. OK, let's zoom in and see what's happening. First, here's what happens with DeNoise versus the original noisy photo. Now that's really, really bad. Let's look at that one more time. This is DeNoise and Gigapixel combined together compared with the original noisy photo. Now, as far as comparing it to what happens with just DeNoise on its own, here is DeNoise on its own, which seems to be just a little bit more blurry and it's softer than what happens when you use the combination of both products. Let's examine a few other parts of this photograph. Once again, as we zoom in, this is the original photograph with all the noise. Here is DeNoise AI and Gigapixel combined together. And here is just DeNoise on its own. If we look at some of the other shapes in this photograph, if you look at the original noisy photo, the noise is so bad that it distorts and it destroys all the edges and all the lines that are in your photograph. Whereas DeNoise and Gigapixel, because of machine learning, hallucinating all these proper details, repairs all of that missing detail that the noise had destroyed. And just for the sake of completeness, let's take the original version of this photo and process it using the Adobe Camera Raw Loader to see how well Adobe's noise reduction technology compares. So here's the original RAW file. Let's reset everything Adobe Camera Raw to its defaults, and let's zoom in and do our best to remove the noise using just the Adobe Camera Raw Loader. So with the noise reduction, we'll bring it up to the point where we can no longer see any noise. And I think that right about there, all the noise is pretty much gone from the photograph. And I'm happy with that, and I'll go ahead and click open. So let's copy and paste this in. I'll label this Adobe Camera Raw. So here we go. First, Adobe Camera Raw versus the original noisy photo. Adobe Camera Raw versus DeNoise AI. There is just no comparison. Once again, Adobe Camera Raw versus DeNoise AI and Gigapixel combined together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and feel free to download the demo version of DeNoise AI and this photograph and try this tutorial on your own computer. If you're interested in purchasing Topaz DeNoise AI, now is the best time since Topaz is running a super sale. So to take advantage of the super sale, just visit topazlabs.com/ref/2. Now, it's really important that you visit this website, which I'm going to leave a link for in this video. Then, once you're at Topaz Labs, under Products, go under All Products, and you'll notice that DeNoise AI has a special for $59.99. Notice how this ends on June 4th. Click Buy Now, and then under Add Promo Code, be sure to add my promo code, which is GROSTAMI. And so now when you apply this promo code, you'll notice that the price, starting at $79.99, has gone on sale for $59.99, and now there's an additional 15% off for an additional $9 that brings it down to just $50.99. So be sure to take advantage of the special before the time runs out. Thank you very much for watching.